Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine being just utterly miserable. You
Yeah.
hate your job, you hate where you live, maybe hate your wife, your neighbors. You even hate yourself.
Right. Completely trapped.
Exactly. Like you're stuck in what the source calls a silly hole.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? That feeling of deep dissatisfaction, life just not working out.
Totally. And that's the world we're diving into today. We're taking a deep dive into H.G. Wells's The History of Mr. Polly using the text you've shared with
Yeah,
us.
that's our map. Our mission, really, is to explore this one-man story, Alfred Polly,
Mm.
and pull out the key insights, the surprising bits by his journey through, well, profound discontent, loads of unexpected events, and his own sort of unique search for something better.
Because, I mean, well, Mr. Polly's circumstances are specific, his time and place. That feeling of being stuck,
Oh, yeah.
or just knowing there has to be something more out there, that's pretty universal, isn't it?
Definitely. Maybe well, let's be honest, his very unplanned, chaotic path might offer a different angle, a different perspective for you on navigating your own frustrations.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The source paints this really vivid picture of Mr. Polly's world at the start, Foxbourne.
Oh, yeah. Stifling. You feel the weight of his dissatisfaction immediately.
You really do. The physical description, too, the troubled eyes, especially that left one with more of wonder, the downturned mouth.
And that complexion, the dull and yellowish, kind of look, the source blames on civil disturbances. This is the great phrase for just internal turmoil.
Right. It really is. And his brow, those little puckerings of a thoroughly discontented man.
Even the small details piling on. Hating the smell of blacking, so he wears brown boots. That golf cap.
Oh, the golf cap! From his own stock, tilted over his eye. Adds that desperate touch, the source says. All happening in that failing gentleman's outfitters on the high street.
And underneath it all, a big part of it is the financial dread. The source is very clear.
Yeah, the shop just isn't paying.
He has this total inability to distinguish between capital and interest, always under that huge dark cloud of insolvency.
It's just this constant, hopeless pressure darkening his afternoons.
And compounding all that financial mess is his pretty disastrous education.
Oh, completely. The source has that fantastic, really brutal description, doesn't it? Schooling feeling like an appendicitis operation performed by a well-meaning butcher boy.
Superseded by a left-handed clerk.
Yeah.
It's like his whole basic learning was just traumatic and piecemeal.
Leaves him with zero confidence in basic skills, like figures. He's always second-guessing, like 8 sevens or 9 eights, that was 63. It's just chaos in his head.
But what's fascinating, and this is a crucial insight, I think, is the contrast between that, that formal failure and his inner life, which is fueled by reading.
Yes. Despite the educational mess, he loves words, loves stories.
He just devours adventure tales, travel books, penny dreadfuls for the Local Institute.
And it's not just idle fancy, is it? The source says it kept alive this belief that somewhere there was beauty, there was delight.
Exactly. It shows that even when you're deep in misery, the human spirit often hangs on to this hidden well of imagination, clinging to the idea of something more.
And his daydreams are so specific. Being a diver, storming forts.
Sinking ships, beloved by queens, even killing a lion with a pointed stake through the beast's heart.
They're not random, are they? They really highlight escapism. That's his main coping mechanism against his drab reality.
So before he got stuck in Foxbourne, the source takes us back a bit.
Right, his time working in that drapery shop in Port Burdock.
This is where we meet the 3 Ps, Platt, Parsons, and Polly.
A bond formed just because their name started with P?
Amazing, isn't it? They built up this persona as desperate dogs, sneaking off, going to pubs.
Those long 20-mile walks.
Yeah, and getting into Rabelais. Thinking Gargantua's birth feats was the most glorious piece of writing in the world.
And reading Rabelais and Sterne later on, known for their humor and, digressions, it shows he gravitated towards stuff that offered escape through language, unconventional perspectives.
Which is such a stark contrast to the rigid, joyless world of his shop life later.
He also had this sort of shy attraction to feminine creatures, the source says, noticing hair, necks, hands.
Even while pretending to be this seasoned depravity character with his friends.
And his fascination with words kept going, slang, deliberately mispronouncing things by whim, trying to sound knowledgeable, even though his education left him feeling insecure.
And window dressing. That was his artistic outlet.
Yeah, he saw it as an art form, but it lacked joy in it, no blooming joy.
There's that great slightly chaotic story about Parsons trying a dynamic display, throwing things around.
And getting bound over by the police. When Parsons left, it was an irreparable loss for Mr. Polly.
Moving on himself didn't exactly bring clarity, though.
No, he tried London, lost jobs because employers did not like something in his eye.
Even though he was apparently a brilliant salesman and very fair window dresser. It's another case of his potential being kind of undermined by something he can't quite grasp or control.
He did have that memorable little interlude in Canterbury.
Yeah, feeling at home there.
Yeah.
The Gothic architecture, the ruined arches.
Liked The Wife of Bath, but couldn't quite get into Chaucer's original English.
No. And he was clearly fascinated overhearing those American tourists talking about the broad elemental Canterbury proposition.
These moments show little glimpses of connection, interest, but they don't fundamentally change his path, do they?
Not really, no.
Ugh.
And that feeling of being trapped just grew. The source captures it perfectly with the chief shophawker's verdict. Mr. Polly had no zest, no vim.
Ouch.
And Mr. Polly himself felt like a young rabbit in a trap. This period really cements that feeling of a man just ill-suited to the conventional life society expected.
And here's where the story takes a big unexpected turn. His father's death. The source describes it like an unexpected hole in the universe.
It's such a powerful, poignant moment. Polly remembers seeing his father struggling with furniture upstairs, seeing his perfect humanity.
And later, he has that crucial realization, doesn't he? That his father was a weakly, willful being struggling to get obdurate things round impossible corners.
Yeah, and he sees that not just in his father, but in himself. Maybe in everyone, this constant struggle against reality.
His father's death brings him back into contact with family. Johnson, the practical one.
And the relentlessly pleasant Mrs. Johnson, always calling her husband Harold, and the Larkins family.
The source details the funeral planning with this sort of dark humor, the mourning clothes, the casket.
And Mrs. Johnson triumphantly getting gloves, even for the little punt boy.
And the reception sounds just wonderfully awkward and revealing. Uncle Penstamen?
Uncle Penstamen. Greff, remembering Annie mucking up his mushroom bed.
And being brutally honest about the costs, sizing up the Larkins girls. It captures those uncomfortable social rituals around death perfectly.
Especially with those family dynamics. But amidst all this, there's the unexpected news from the source. His father left him money.
An inheritance. Unexpected. £60.
Yeah.
After everything's paid.
And the source explicitly calls this the trigger, the catalyst for his little holiday.
It feels like this has to be his chance, right? His escape. For those dreams to maybe become real.
You'd think so. But as the source shows, even his holiday doesn't quite go as planned. He dreams big, doesn't he? A grand trip, maybe with Parsons.
Visiting picturesque places, finding romance like in his books Chaucer, Boccaccio, Le Gallienne.
Instead, he goes back to stay with the Johnsons in Eastwood.
So his holiday is spent buying a safety bicycle, which sounds like a comical struggle.
Oh yeah, and more books. Adds Rabelais and Sterne to his collection, still escaping through reading.
He visits the Larkins again, finds them healing people, tries to be witty with Miriam and Minnie.
Those lines like, my dandling days are over and my turn to dandle.
And the source gives that specific, slightly clinical detail of Minnie kissing him, a sculatory exercise.
Yeah. And Annie confessing her funeral rings were from a prize packet. Another touch of just mundane reality undercutting things.
Then there's that brief, almost fairy tale encounter with Christabel by the wall.
He sees her as this beautiful maiden. He feels like a knight.
Oh.
Asks to kiss her finger. Straight out of his books.
But the source immediately smashes that romantic ideal against harsh reality.
He climbs the wall, hoping to see her again. And what does he see? Her wringing a schoolfellow's wrist, calling her a giggling idiot.
It's just total humiliation for him, shatters that fragile dream. Another instance of his imaginative world just colliding, really painfully, with the real one.
And after that disappointment, his thoughts swing back to a conventional idea, getting a shop.
Sees it as a respectable thing. He talks it over with Miriam, hints about needing the right company.
Sitting by the Delphicums and larkspurs in the park, another mix of slightly poetic description and grounded reality.
But the real driver seems to be a sudden, brutal financial shock.
Yeah, he started with 350 pounds, realizes he's burned through 62 pounds.
The source describes the shock so vividly, feeling like he's going down a vortex, thrown back into the hard old economic world.
So this financial pressure, the conventional shop idea, his interactions with Miriam, it all kind of converges.
The source describes his internal struggle, thinking about suicide again, but ultimately feeling, well, compelled to marry Miriam under the will of society.
It feels less like a choice, doesn't it? More like being backed into a corner by circumstances and expectations.
He almost just stumbles into this massive life decision. Then he cycles off, finds a place at Fishbourne.
And comes back to tell Johnson about the new shop and the upcoming nuptial over at Stampton. It's decided with this weird mix of impulse and resignation.
So he's in Fishbourne, married, a shop owner. But the source makes it crystal clear this life is miles away from any romantic ideal.
Oh, absolutely. The shop is ill-built, cramped, underground kitchen. Nothing like his dream of breakfast in the sun with a canary and musk.
His attempt at enthusiastic window dressing is just that, an attempt. It doesn't quite land.
And Miriam's approach to the house. Earnest? Yes. But incredibly impractical.
That memorable line from the source, her food came done rather than improved, and looking as uncomfortable as savages clothed under duress.
The house is never quite clean, always being pulled apart for cleaning. It's just a life of constant, inefficient discomfort.
And Mr. Polly, he keeps seeking escape, leaning heavily on reading La Perouse Yucatan.
Island Nights Entertainments, noting that phrase like warm tea for how comfortably immersive it felt.
He cycles, visits book sales. But even the beloved River Medway loses its charm when he can't see both banks. Maybe a metaphor for needing a clear horizon, which his life totally lacks.
And over 15 years in that shop, the source tracks his decline, physical and emotional.
Getting fatter, losing hair, getting more irritated, losing his casual laugh. By 40, he feels his life had not been worth living, just bleak.
The source includes some commentary here that's really insightful, gives broader context.
Yeah, about small shopkeepers' lives often ending in failure, inefficiency, external changes.
Eking out savings, drawing from shrinking capital, less chance of improvement than winning the lottery. It frames Mr. Polly's personal misery within this larger, grim social and economic reality.
And his relationships with neighbors sour, too. Rumbold, Hinks, Rusper.
He gives them nicknames, doesn't he? Like Rumbold the Checkered Careerist, which the source notes are apt to get round to people.
So loneliness sets in. Even opening the shop door becomes terrible.
And this tension boils over in that absurd, almost pathetic fight with Rusper.
Over unpacking near a sanitary dustbin, the source calls it a clumsy fight between inexpert children of a Pacific age.
Ending with Polly's finger in Rusper's mouth. Mrs. Rusper's dramatic accusations at the bench only lead to a mild reprimand. It just highlights how petty and constrained their struggles are.
So this is the deep pit he's in, and the source shows his mind turning towards, well, drastic escape.
Suicide is considered again, the train, the river. But then he hatches a new plan. Arson.
Burn the shop for the insurance money, make his death look like an accident.
And what's truly striking, a really surprising insight from the source, is that the planning of the arson, it makes him feel happier than he has in years.
I find that bizarre. The source calls it a larger and somberer kind of happiness.
The sheer act of taking control, even towards this destructive end, gives him this perverse sense of relief, agency, after years of feeling powerless.
The scheme is elaborate, too. Soak the stairs, fire in the cellar, ventilation holes.
Pile things up, position lamps, smash the house lamp on the stairs as the supposed cause, cut his throat at the top. He's confident he knows how to do it.
So, Sunday evening, Miriam's at church. He puts the plan into action.
Feels irritated by her presence, declares, beastly home, beastly life, sets the fires, arranges the lamps, notes it looks pretty arsonical.
But then, at the crucial moment, the plan goes wildly, unexpectedly wrong.
Totally. The source says he draws the razor, feels a sting, then sees this little blue thread of flame running up his leg from paraffin on his trousers.
His focus instantly shifts from suicide to desperately trying to put the fire out on himself.
And the fire, now completely uncontrolled, escalates rapidly, spreads to Rusper's, the hotel stables.
Even the fire station. His meticulously planned self-destruction becomes this raging disaster.
But instead of dying, what does Mr. Polly do? He starts yelling, "Fire!" banging on Rumbold's door.
Suddenly worried about Rumbold's deaf mother-in-law upstairs.
He disappears into the pub, the Royal Fishbourne Tap, and reappears on the roof with the old lady.
And that conversation on the roof is just wonderful, isn't it? So chaotic. He's yelling, "Horse chestnut! P.O.P.!" because she can't hear.
And she's just amused. Sitch goes on.
They manage to get into the attic, but the stairs are blocked by smoke.
Rescued by Mr. Gamble on the fire escape. The old lady's reaction to his helmet is classic, hiding his head in that thing.
And as she's led away, she's real glad I haven't missed it, still asking about hot chestnuts. Incredible.
Mr. Polly comes down the fire escape, described as Moist, excited, and tremendously alive, wearing borrowed clothes.
At the Temperance Hotel, the tradesmen are gathered, discussing the fire in their Sunday best. Wintershed makes that grim joke about clearing old stock.
And Miriam arrives, surprisingly excited, thinking they'll get the insurance, start over somewhere better.
And Mr. Polly's only response, a non-committal,
This event, meant to be his planned end, becomes his unexpected accidental escape hatch. It's a profound twist.
He finds a way out not by succeeding in his plan, but by failing spectacularly and then just reacting instinctively to the new crisis.
And the source confirms this was his escape. About a month later, he's vanished, now a leisurely and dusty tramp.
His physical appearance changes dramatically, plumper, browner, healthier, just from living and walking outside.
Interestingly, though, he still feels some responsibility for Miriam. The source notes he sends her money orders.
From various post offices, like Gilhampton, because he likes the name and its rural sound, shows a lingering connection, maybe guilt, despite his new freedom.
He rediscovers the world, feels this new joy and freedom, happy and irresponsible as a boy.
Talking to people, seeing fresh things. The source includes that lovely memory of the mist in the meadows, making houses look like islands.
This is the kind of beauty his reading promised, wasn't it? Now he's experiencing it directly.
His journey eventually leads him back to a road he recognizes, sees those 3 beautiful poplars. He finds the Potwell Inn.
And meets the plump woman who runs it. The source describes this immediate, easy connection, friendship at first sight, and understanding about food and drink.
He settles in, takes on various jobs, ferryman, gardening, dealing with drunks.
Finds simple charm in things like liking the ducklings. Meets Miss Polly, the younger girl who shares his name, thinks he's silly, but likes him.
It's a life of simple tasks, genuine connection, a world away from the shop.
But this new life isn't completely problem-free. There's Uncle Jim.
Uncle Jim, the plump woman's nephew, a recurring threat.
The source describes him having something of the snake about him. Violent, extorting money from his aunt.
There are physical fights. Mr. Polly, hardly a hero figure, ends up pushing Jim into the river with a broom.
A slightly comical, but effective defense. The source highlights Jim's aversion to cold water as his heel of Achilles, his weakness.
There's even that more dramatic incident later. After another run-in, Jim gets jailed for 3 months.
But he escapes, comes back for a night surprise, shoots at Polly's window.
Polly finds his room ransacked, clothes and money gone. But Uncle Jim vanishes after that, doesn't return. It's the last bit of that violent, disruptive world intruding.
So life at the inn settles down. The source jumps forward 5 years.
Polly's still there, healthier, plumper, quietly reflecting.
He visits Miriam once, but the source describes his discomfort. He sees her continued lack of domestic management, that bad egg detail.
Yeah, just underscores how different their paths are now.
He has this really poignant conversation with the plump woman by the river at twilight, sharing his thoughts.
Reflects on poor Jim, admits he wasn't much good, but wonders if something in life was good to him. A rare moment of empathy, even for his tormentor.
He talks about expecting something from life that just doesn't happen. The difficulty of knowing good from evil. No Adam's apple stuck in my throat.
And how life felt like a dream where things happened to me. That's key, isn't it? He still feels like he's reacted to life, not actively shaped it.
He even confesses about setting the fire. Says he doesn't feel sorry for it, doesn't think it was bad, compares it to burning a toy.
Casually mentions his suicide attempt, too. Who hasn't? Anyhow, gone as far as thinking of it.
His conclusion about his life. Things came out all right. And the plump woman offers that gentle, grounded counterpoint. Not always.
His final thoughts in the source describe life as this diaphanous feeling, just mellowish and warmish like. This quiet contentment wasn't planned, was it? Not earned through conventional success.
Exactly. Mr. Polly's journey. It takes him from that deep pit of misery, conventional failure in Foxbourne, through unexpected money, a failed, pressured marriage, to a life found almost by chance at the Potwell Inn.
And we use the source text to pull out all those specific details, the money troubles, the chaotic education, the daydreams, the awkward funeral, the disastrous holiday, the humiliation, the stifling shop, that absurd fight.
The planned destruction, the accidental rescue, the tramping, the peace at the end, the confrontations, the quiet reflections. All those moments illuminate his character, his struggles, his unique path.
His early education was a thorough mess, wasn't it? Left him ill-equipped for the world society expected him to fit into.
And his path wasn't planned. The source repeatedly emphasizes how things just happened to him. Yet somehow, he found contentment.
And that brings us to a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to ponder. Mr. Pauly found this unexpected kind of peace, happiness, by abandoning his old life and, well, embracing chance and circumstance, not rigid planning.
Right, in a world that often emphasizes meticulous planning, setting goals, achieving measurable success. What can we maybe learn from Mr. Pauly's journey about finding contentment in unexpected places, perhaps even through chaos?
Is simply letting things come out all right a valid strategy? Or is it just, a lucky outcome for a few?
Something to think about as you navigate your own journey.